start doing some stuff. So this is a talk on group programming, ensemble programming. We'll discuss the in the room, you may have heard it as mob programming. We'll talk about why, maybe that might not be the best way to call it. But Adam actually is a coworker of mine, and we have done a lot of good programming together. We actually have done this talk internally with some of our other teammates, and I'm so happy that Adam could be here and he didn't know he got signed up for this. Now he is.
It's been a couple years now.
Yeah, so we're going to rate it. So hopefully it's as good of a talk as we remember. But it's thanks to all of these coworkers that you really are able to talk and do this because it's something that you have to do with other people. That's the great thing about it. I should have probably put Carl in. We actually have had a good session. But if you do want the slide deck on this, feel free to help yourself. This link, I'll get another link up at the end of it. I know people like to follow along, or if you want the links for later, where you can go. Corey, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, so what is it called? Well, I would like to put out there that ensemble programming is kind of this great term for it, without the negative connotations that mob kind of gives you. Mob, especially when we're talking about our European counterparts, may not have the best, things associated with it. It really is at its heart a group of programmers working together. So let's think about something that they can all do together that's fun. One of the things that our group has came up with is calling it a pizza party, because what's the funner than a group of people getting together for a pizza party? And so then plus when you said, hey, I need let's get together, and then you add a pizza emoji, that's just fun.
Well, also I think one thing I like about the word ensemble is mob is a word of peace festival. Right? Mob implies that everyone is the same. Ensemble actually forefronts the fact that people can have very different skills and work collaboratively, and that's actually far more powerful than everyone being the same.
Yeah, so that's just kind of our take on why we don't call it mob programming, but if that is kind of the thing that gets in your head first, yes, that is exactly what we're talking about, but let's call it ensemble. And so why we actually started doing this. As a team, we were kind of building up. We had a new team and we had a brand new project. So we were starting up the identity team. There hadn't been an identity team. We were transitioning from kind of all the Omaha. Now we weren't all in Omaha. We had one person who knew one thing really well, and then the rest of us kind of came in and had to get up to speed on Okta and doing a lot in SSO land, doing a lot with all the realm of identity. And so,
well, also one of the big driving factors here is we were going from Heroku-driven development to getting essentially dropped unceremoniously into Kubernetes and having to sing this way.
Oh yeah, that was a big thing. And so that kind of helps us level set on why did we come to doing ensemble programming and why was it kind of our normal day-to-day. So it really helped us to familiarize ourselves with a code base. We had this SSO client that was definitely not built by our team, but all of a sudden it was our thing that we had to own. And we had a lot of individual training that we had to get up to speed on the brand new, Okta. So if anybody's worked with Okta, it's a thing, and there's a lot of stuff to learn in there. And so, how did it go?
Quick question. Was this in person, video call or both?
100% online.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
So
all resumes.
Yeah. So this is peak 2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like it's pandemic, but it's pandemic that like lived in pandemic.
What pandemic like?
Yes. Yes. Like
Coming
we had vaccinations, but we still were in 21. And so what we were able to do as a team, we were able to kind of bring on new team members more organically. When we had our contractors come in, they weren't just the contractors, they were really an embedded part of our team. We were able to get them up to speed, we were able to get them to gel in with our team and culture, as well as, getting them productivity and working really actually a lot quicker than what was expected.
I'm sorry to, is it okay to interrupt? When you going into this, was the mindset like, oh, this is what we do now? Or is this like hey, we're going to get into this project by doing this ensemble programming and eventually it'll fall off to the side?
It was entirely a reaction to silos of knowledge forming
Okay.
and people not understanding how things work and therefore not being able to be productive. So in order to knowledge share so that we were all on the same page, we just kind of organically started doing this. It was never something that we instituted intentionally. We just kind of did it organically and it worked.
Yeah, and so what we did find is the majority of the time, like I have since kind of moved off the team onto a different team, but Adam actually is still on that original team where we were doing the group programming every day pretty much. We had a lot of norms around it, which we're going to discuss the team norms and how to help you and level set with it. But pretty much it was meetings are in the morning, you program it as a group in the afternoon. And that's just how we had set up our team. And pretty much every day you would get on. Maybe it wasn't your time, for hands-on, or you were working on a different project, or you might do like mini teams. So we might have 2, 1, and 2, but most of the time it was pairing or it was not pairing. Or a group setting. You want to talk about some of the benefits we saw with the program?
You can take the lead and I'll just hop in.
Cool. Okay. So we did do this, and for the full time with the team, it was remote. We found that with the Zoom sharing, it really was the best way to share your screen. This is also how I got into really understanding my other teammates' dev environments and how it worked, because you would see them doing it right then.
Yeah, actually, that's something that you see a lot with, like, there's a lot of different technologies people use for pairing. A lot of people traditionally have kind of shared a keyboard and like a single configuration. Honestly, I think not doing that is beneficial because everybody uses the system they're most comfortable with, and also everyone sees a variety of different ways of working on the same code base. And they can maybe learn a lot about how their colleagues are doing stuff. So it's also good knowledge sharing, not just about the work, but also about how the work is done.
Yeah, Adam's the reason why I got interested in trying out Vim, Alacrity, and even diving in on editors and shells, because I had come from a Java land where I just was always in IDE, which I had kind of transferred to Ruby, but I've slowly done a hybrid approach, kind of based on getting to see my coworkers and being amazed at what they can do with just a couple keystrokes. Hey, what's up?
How large was the team and how large?
Would you mind repeating the first part?
Yeah, how large was the team?
How large was the team? So we're talking engineers. It was like Adam, Andy, me, Jim was the core for a while, and then we did add on 2 more contractors. So embedded, it was anywhere between 4 to 6. Overall, WP Engine, like, do you want the engineering org or the team?
Engineering work.
And how big is the engineering right now? Here?
Probably 100.
100? Yeah. And so, like, there is lots of other engineering teams, and we all have can work in a way that works best for us. Yeah. So this was all a sprint, agile sprint cadence, and we did group programming.
None of those people you mentioned were junior, right?
That's true. None of them were junior, but we did actually bring on an intern during that time.
Although he didn't do it.
He didn't do that. So I do have to add the caveat, like,
yeah. But on the other hand, like, I don't know what internships look like all the time. Yeah. I imagine watching professionals work is not useless. I don't know that we were maybe the best.
We weren't the best team for him.
We're probably not the best team for an intern, quite honestly. We did our best,
we were working in a deeply embedded, very sub-genre of stuff, because it was identity management using Okta, and ours was a very niche situation, and so to bring in a intern who was still learning software engineering, it didn't feel like the best spot. And so yes, we did try to embed it in. We did give him opportunities. some stuff he might actually learn. You would have to actually ask him. He wanted to stick around.
I'm not sure if there was an exit interview. I didn't hear anything.
I'm not sure if I did either.
We have not had an intern since, and probably.
I don't think that there was a correlation there, though.
Yeah,
That was
but-
just more the internships got moved around.
But the mid-tiers that we did bring on, it worked really well for getting the level set.
So we've had a couple contractors who are probably lower level, like not used to working in a really complex systems that we have. So like I think their experience is closer to it like a human would be.
But this is one of the biggest things that what you get for benefit wise, and this is still like the best way to describe it, is that it allows you to, when you have all those different engineers who get their thing done, super high quality, and then have to wait on review, and then get feedback, and then have to wait. So the thing is it doesn't necessarily make you all go faster, but it does remove all those obstacles that you might have. When me and Adam are working together, if I have a question about what's going on, how we need to play this out, what's going on with Kubernetes, maybe another system, I'm able to get kind of that knowledge quickly from him, but keep my hands on the keyboard on what I need to do. Then when I am ready for like a break, I say, hey, can you switch this? And then somebody else is able to be the hands-on, and we keep on going.
Honestly, that's an important point that I want to underline. A lot of people tend to be perhaps too strict putting practices into place. And I just want to emphasize that you should really try to go slow and feel it out instead. Find what works. Like, there is no set interval whether you trade it off. Sometimes you do it very frequently. Sometimes it was one person all day. It kind of depends on how much context everyone has and like how the driver is feeling. Like if you're running out of steam and you need to hand off, that's a good time to do it. But there's no real consistency. Like we try to find the best balance for the moment. We're working on it, and it's okay to change as the work changes.
Yeah, so the actual, how do we do it? So this is a completely remote team. We would start a Zoom session. We would kind of come in, look at a Jira ticket, whatever we have our focus for, and then we would kind of, discuss who wants to start, who wants to be hands-off first. With the understanding that all people who are not hands-off are still actively kind of involved with what you're doing. Maybe they're not like, they may have screens off, they may have screens on. Screens on actually does help. So you can have that non-formal communication going on. But you two all have the intent to working on one thing together. And so one person is driving with the hands on the keyboard, that's the person who's sharing it. And then you usually have like somebody who's the navigator. So who's the person who is kind of really directly interacting with the person who has the hands on it? And then you kind of have your dialogue of walking through your patterns, walking through kind of what's next. Hey, that syntax doesn't look right. Hey, you misspelled something here, let's go back. And so it's working together. It's not just one person, everybody's just really eyes on them. It's really that group effort. And then rotate. And so sometimes we would schedule these, sometimes it would be ad hoc. Sometimes we may have multiple sessions going on. Maybe we divide it up the team. Sometimes what we have done is like maybe back-end REST API work with the front-end React tool. Because then that's two different mental headspaces. And if you kind of already have the knowledge on one, it's a really big context switch to get to another one. So maybe you work with one other person or two other people on one area, and then you guys kind of work together. When you have to do the stuff like, hey, what's the contract? Here's the contract. You can either all work together, or you can just kind of pass off the info that you need. You still have to have that in other space. Like you are going to have to deal with meetings, you're going to have to deal with training, you got your emails. And so that's why for us, meetings are for the morning, handle the emails, handle the other stuff. Try to program in the afternoon. Do what cadence works for your team. And so these were some of our lessons learned, give a heads up. when you're away from keep. So especially if you are turning your video off, you want to give a like make sure people know where you're at if you're not the hands-on person, so that they can kind of keep track of you. Drivers, it is going to be the thing that kind of drains the energy. And so if you are feeling like, oh, I'm frustrated, I'm tired, I just need a break, you can just have to kind of talk to your teammates about that. So that's a great time for your legs and energy to trade off. When you have escalations, you can pivot. Hey, there's a prod issue. You got all the people right there who can fix the prod issue. Pivot to what you need to do. And then you can always pivot back to what you're actually supposed to be working on. We all know we have those interrupts. But sometimes with the group programming, you have the people who are best and equipped to actually deal with that interrupt the right thing. And communicate. Like you have to find, like when you're the driver, sometimes you need to say what's going on in your head. Especially like for me, sometimes I feel like I just can't remember the syntax. I don't know what to do next. You have to just say that because your teammates are there to help you out and just keep going forward. But if you aren't saying anything, they can't read your minds. They don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and I think some people have kind of a passive approach, or oftentimes they think that they go off. When you're doing this type of work, you really need to presence and act. Having video on, be with the people. Turn the audio off as necessary, so that there's no background noise, but like nonverbal communication and the presence and demonstrating.
Yeah, so while I'm programming, I like to have a little weird going on. And you can't tell, I like talking, and that's actually the thing that gives me more energy. And so like we kind of would get into like I might be talking about cats, but I'm doing programming, and that's the thing that helps me go forward. And so it's we working together as a group that you can kind of figure out what does come best. And so it's okay to go on a tangent. Like I'll ask Adam, hey, what keystrokes did you just do? And he'll stop. You might have to open up a new utility, or might have to, really explain it to me, and then we'll kind of move on with it. And that's okay, because that's that organic learning. And so, yeah, if you have Slack, that /2 is so nice and helpful. Leave your video on where possible. Like what we've said, nonverbal communication, but also, like, if you're the driver, just being able to look up and see those other faces that are kind of watching you, that are engaged, gives you a little bit more energy. That it makes you feel like you're not alone. Because we know in remote work, that just happens. And so by leaving on those videos, it can help it. And so, yeah, be comfortable with muting and unmuting yourself, because like stuff comes up, You're gonna have a sneezing attack, you're gonna have things going on, you're gonna have cats kind of running across the room, being able to mute to help interrupt. What's up, Corey?
Man. So you know how maybe you're gonna get to this, I don't know, but you know how difficult it is to run a meeting because you need everybody to be this sort of on the same page as to how are you going to pick and choose your battles? How are you going to exercise restraint by speaking up, and so on and so on? I imagine that it's maybe even harder in this situation. Like, how do you facilitate that? How do you make sure that everybody's going in the flow? We're not going down rabbit holes. I mean, tangents are good, but it's like, oh, I'm doing it this way because this is my philosophy behind this, and we're going to have a little healthy debate about values and mismatch and so on. But how do you make sure there's efficiency?
I think coming back to what is the point of this session, and making sure you're kind of working towards the goal. With programming, it's not always you get that code done and then you're done with the ticket. No, it's the revisions and yes, that feedback and that discussion is an integral part of it. Changing it and refactoring it is something that really does happen kind of organically in there. We could definitely have classes where I have typed up something, pushed it up, and then Adam will pull it down and change it. But the thing is it is that discussion and working together.
I think there's, it's wrong to think of it as a meeting. Don't approach it as a meeting, right? First, problem with meetings is that they are abstract. Talking abstractions. Right? Ensemble programming session is concrete. you are working on a future. You're solving a problem. You are actually working together. And so the entire discussion is focused around what you're concretely and what you achieve, which means there just isn't like a practice in our experience, and there's not a whole lot of techniques. They happen.
I would say if we may uncover other bugs, we might uncover new features, we might uncover additional things that we just missed. That's at what point you have somebody else on the group create a GR ticket for you to deal with later. So that they could reframe and re-practice on what you were actually trying to do.
If it's an interruption,
Yeah,
just take it.
yeah. That's
So
what we would
There's a
do.
little bit of discipline that you need to use to stay on task, but I don't know. I think I've seen this get great, especially around where people discuss the situation where everyone is so consumed with arguing over the issue that nothing actually gets done. And I have literally never seen this happen in that compare. So I'm not entirely certain that this is a problem or not. But I think that's more of a professional problem. That it's broader than just what kind of development practices is, right? Like, people need to get shit done. But that needs to be your focus. And if that's not your focus, that's actually the larger problem.
That's why I asked about the junior.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe that's one of those, when that sounds like we need additional documentation. We'll write it to him. We'll get that written up tomorrow. Right now, we're gonna do this. Yeah, so like reframe, push it off to later, and then get people back on the initial issue. Yeah, so it's important that you have a shared branch probably, push it up on a remote that everybody can get to. It is 14 workflows with Get work really good, but pretty much do a commit, maybe write a blurb. Don't spend a lot of time because you can always interactive rebase that later. Just push it up so somebody else can pull it down. Because one at the base of it is you need to share your code so people can react, feedback, and add to it. And so whatever works best for your team to get that done. And make sure you co-op. Because you're not the co-author anymore, so GitHub the Git the co-author is great for making sure that you're sharing that credit.
Yeah, I have a looks at the various authors and kind of branch, pops up a window of authors I can select, and I'll drop in a co-author. It's good to always
And some other lessons learned is it does help to try to do smaller intervals the larger. Try to switch in to make sure people can stay engaged because our attention spans are kind of for shit. And so if you kind of rotate those responsibilities, it helps everybody kind of stay engaged. And you can pick an interval and do that. If that doesn't work for your free team, don't do it. But if it helps people, to say every 30 minutes we change hands, then try it out.
Yeah, but this is something where, like I was saying, find what feels right. Because a lot of times, certain things really need context. You need to hold on to that context for longer. Right? So, find an interval that makes sense.
And we're just a heads up, we're about at time. It doesn't look like we have a person, so we'll be our own people for keeping track of time. So yeah, it's like guidelines, not laws. So you're all here together to work together. Maybe you guys need to send down some guidelines on how to do it. And we do still think the pair program needs to rate to getting a junior or a mid up to speed, or just somebody new who's going to learn the team is a great way of doing that. And then yes, you will have cats. Cats are amazing and make Zoom sessions get better. And then otherwise, there's some great episodes on the change log. So if you've got these slides, you can check out that. There's a lot of people who really have some great ideas on how to make Ensemble and group programming better and why they like it. So you should totally check those out. Those are in the slides. I'll get you the slide here. Here. So let's spread this. Yep. Wrapping up. So thank you. Hopefully we already kind of answered questions. So I don't want to keep any of everybody if they were going to go for another one. But yeah, check out the Andy, another teammate of ours, he really likes podcasts. I'm not a big podcast listener, but he is, and so those are all nice podcast links. So check them out. Yeah, thank you.